See what Splyce wants to do. Picks and bans now for between these two teams. Xbalanque not picked or banned, I believe, at all in the first two games. Surprisingly enough, I mean, CycloneSpin was dominant on that god during the World Championships.
Gentleman's agreement. Neither side plays it. No, in all honesty, I think that was just Splyce probably having done their homework and assuming that SK, with Neil choosing to always play so aggressively on supports, it's probably better left alone on that Xbalanque option, because if you have Xbal against a Hercules support, for example, you're not going to have a very good time.
So Splyce in the first pick, last time they first picked the Jing and Cyclone went ham on it, no doubt about that. So wouldn't mind seeing him reprise it, though maybe not as the first pick selection. Splyce taking their time on the ban. They're going to first ban the Habois. Paul, always a problem when he gets this pick, and certainly was in that game. No surprise that they're going to take it away from him this time.
I almost wonder if Splyce feel like Paul having so much burst damage available with that Habois in Game 2 was a main reason why they didn't feel comfortable trying to set up their own counter gank or counter initiations. Oftentimes it was just Splyce trying to just defensively bail out using the additional movements from that Aphrodite. I just want to see something that Splyce can actually sink their teeth into, though. It just feels like they're constantly falling short of actually securing lockdown on SK.
Osiris and Hercules, a couple warriors taken off the board on each side. SK sticking with their exact same bans from last game. Splyce banned Cirquet instead of Habois. They're going to stick with their game plan. First pick the Jing Wei. Again, this is kind of just letting SK establish their draft and letting Splyce start to counterpick it.
I know you can do better.
But SK, they get the Achilles again. Belair looks great on this pick. I agree, though, that there's no way they put Divios on Afro 3 games in a row. I mean, Splyce is stubborn, but they're willing to make some level of change, right? I mean, there's no way they stick with it.
You'd have to hope, at least. I honestly kind of wish that Splyce would have taken that Achilles for themselves. Yeah. I think that Achilles didn't look bad even in Game 1 when CycloneSpin tried playing the Achilles ADC, but I think that the fact that it could have just stripped the option away from SK would have been more valuable.
Well, not only that, but SK's shown that they prioritized the Hachiman over the Jing Wei. They did it in Game 1 when both were open. So you assume that SK is not going to pick the Jing Wei. Now, maybe they would after how well Cyclone just played it and seeing how highly Splyce value it, but I do think there is some wiggle room there potentially. We're the exact same through the first 3 selections. Splyce now have their option to go back with what they were doing. They picked Aphrodite here last game before the second ban phase, as well as Cabrakan, right? They went Afro Cabrakan first 2, I believe, before
Jing,
the phase.
Cabrakan, and Aphrodite. That is correct. And then 4th and 5th was Ratatoskr and the Nox. So Screammmmmm and Venenu have been holding out their picks. It was the same way. And, well, no, actually, in game number 1, they prioritized Scream's Pele in the first 3.
That's right.
But it hasn't been happening rapidly. I do like this adjustment, though. The Sylvanus and the Zeus.
Much better. This is a much better team fighting composition now, as now SK is going to hover over the Odin and try and potentially punish this Sylvanus and Zeus. For me, Odin just feels like a great NeilMah god, right? He wants to be aggressive early, he wants to really harass you, he's hard to kill, he can get in and out of situations, and he's just a great team fighter, and that's what Odin can do, and I think Neil can really synergize with that. They're thinking about it this time around. But if they didn't ban last time, I feel like they wouldn't have banned it this time either. Maybe Splyce will continue to pick into it. And so SK do hold off, though not necessarily guaranteeing they won't go for it later as they pick the Pele and actually end up banning the Aphrodite away from Divios.
Just in case. Why not? I love that Zhonghui ban, though, from Splyce in response, because if FSK did want the Odin, Zhonghui would have undoubtedly been one of the better mages to deal with it. Plus all the raw prots as well is excellent for trying to chase around Zeus in the mid lane. Hell's only going to make life even more difficult for Sam here, as he's going to have to die pretty deep for this one. Lots of mages being taken out of the picture. Chronos still on the board, though. Same thing for Agni, and possibly even something completely out of pocket for Paul. An Isis could be an option.
Fafnir, they want to let Paul see the end of the draft before he locks in his selection, so they pick the Fafnir for Neil. Works really well with the Pele. You already have a bit of an attack speed stim by way of Heavenly Banner, so you kind of double up on that. Makes your objective burning pretty good with this composition now for SK. And remember, they've got some room to work with. They're up 2-0 right now over the defending world champs in their first set with their new roster. They're looking to round it out. And they're going to go with Screamm's Arachne.
Not the first time we've seen Screamm in a tight spot, opting for the Arachne. And not Hades as well.
And not the first time Divios picks Hades when there's a lot on the line. Look, I kind of love this draft. I mean, Hades is risky. You've got a lot of jumps on the other side, and now Paul gets another one by way of Raijin. Every character has a way out of that Hades ultimate if it's on the edge. Pele has to use the ult, but I like it. These are Splyce gods. They're doing their own thing. Their AoE coverage is insane between the Sylvanus, Zeus, and Hades. Arachne can run the early game for you potentially. I'm feeling much more confident in this Splyce draft.
I think the AoE zoning potential is what I'm really keeping an eye out for on Splyce this time around. This is definitely a significantly better composition that the team fights are going to be much more difficult for SK to just outright stampede through.
Yes, it's going to be a challenge this time for SK to run through all of this AoE damage coming from Splyce, and Splyce needs it. Their backs against the wall. Game 3, Splyce trying to stay alive.
And stay alive, it certainly looks like they can in their drafts. Tom and Anatoly here on the call. And as I look at this one, I kind of expected this to be a 3-1 with my predictions. I'm looking at the draft. This is the game that Splyce can win.
It's very possible. Comfort picks across the board. Arachne for Screamm, Hades for Divios. I love it. And much at the very front, of course, Splyce feeling good regardless.
Esports dog. Gotta be a big fan. Gotta be a big fan. You know, John Finch, who's not here today, doesn't like dogs.
Oh, wait, that's why he's not here! Because he knew Splyce would be here with Munch.
He doesn't like dogs.
Wow.
Very happy about the Splyce draft. Just as happy as I am that Munch is joining us. One, Screamm gets to play his Arachne. One of the premier Arachnes. Right now, Arachne is dummy strong. You want to go win a ranked game, go pick her in the jungle. And Screamm was playing her when she wasn't really strong. And so he knows what he's doing. I'm excited to see what happens with the Broodmother.
You know what's interesting? This is the last game he went right at Tasker, right? He wanted to finish off the Acorn. And I'm almost thinking, like, he bought Assassin's Blessing here, but you could kind of still do the same thing with Arachne in a way where you sit in the fountain, you drop webs for speed buff, allow your mid laner to clear with your spiders. The gold that you get from that speed buff, finish off your boots. That would have been interesting.
Can I be straight up? I think he forgot.
You think he forgot to buy Assassin's Blessing?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I will straight up ask him after this, after the broadcast. Sometimes we see players in between games, but I think it's real important not to kind of get in their zone. I'll fist bump and say, nice game or good luck, but I don't talk to you during the match.
So I've done that in jungle before where I done it the opposite way. I bought my Assassin's Blessing, but I forgot my mace. I forgot what god I was playing, but it was a rough start.
I mean, the other day I bought a Hunter's Blessing in the jungle. And, you know, somebody in my chat's like, oh, like, interesting start. Why Hunter's Blessing? And I just look at my camera and I'm like, oops. Well, they don't even look alike. I have no excuse. Oops.
What god were you playing?
Nemesis, so it kind of worked.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're passive. Yeah, you want the attack speed.
But, and again, the reason why we saw Screamm actually buy it after the fact he was forced into potions, it's to sustain. 5% movement speed is nice, and what is it, 5 or 10 penetration? That's all well and good as Paul gets harassed. This is a kill. Screamm's gonna find him. Look at that damage. Woo! Baby, the Arachnid makes it known. The first blood for Splyce, just like game 1.
This is the problem with Raijin, because at level 2, you want to get your combo off, but that doesn't involve your escape. That Thunder Crash normally picked up at level 3, and that's why that was a very easy first blood on Paul.
And also, just when Arachne gets up on you there, you're dead. You already know it. That first ability is such a swing.
Oh, yeah. Even at this early phase where you don't have any real penetration.
Specifically this early
right?
phase.
Like, only 15 power from the mace is what you're truly getting. And that's enough to find a kill onto a squishy mage target.
Yeah, this character, Arachne, has been the king of the early game since... the early game, meaning Smite's early game.
Before you started even playing.
Yeah, 2012. Arachne was just always a character. The old school phrase, you don't fight the bug.
Yeah, where she could literally jump on your head to lifesteal.
No, thank you. I'm glad that's changed, but most of the time when they change characters, they keep the identity intact, and the 1v1 early game specialist, absolutely intact.
So I know, like, IRL, you don't like bugs. Does that mean you don't play Arachne?
I actually played Arachne recently. I just one-tricked her because she wins every game. I will say that the doll Arachne skin, can't play, gives me nightmares.
That's creepy.
I played a game for once and then I couldn't sleep at night. I was very afraid. I had to call my mommy.
Aw. What did she say to comfort you?
Nothing. She told me not to forget mothers. I didn't. I'm just kidding. Me and my mom are best friends, actually. She's pretty cool. She doesn't play Smite, though.
Aw.
Any of your family play Smite?
Unfortunately not. I tried to get my brother to play.
Yeah?
He's like, he's too cool to do anything that I do. He's like, oh, you're so not cool that I'm not going to follow you.
I say the same thing. Right side, Aurora's going to miss the grab. Get roasted for no reason. Totally.
That was like such a second grade response as well.
My brother, he's like a console Madden COD guy,
Gotcha.
you know? I was like, dude, I got an icon. I'm in a game. He's like, nobody cares, Tom. I was like, dude, I got an announcer pack. My voice is in a video game. He's like, nobody cares, Tom. I'm like, come on, man. He's like, call me when you're in Madden. I was like,
wow.
I'm not joining the NFL anytime soon. He's like, well, guess I don't care.
Maybe one day.
Scream, gonna make Belair care here on the right side. The dash is down. That's what Scream's looking for. Ultimate used. Ooh, surprised. The web was already popped.
Yeah, I think it actually might have hit one of the minions earlier before it clipped onto Belair, so not able to spread that movement speed steroid for Scream. He's going to have to look for another target in a different day. And the fact that that gank attempt was onto Divios' lane is very important. You want to be able to allow Divios the freedom to stack this Warlock staff, a very old school item being purchased on this Hades, giving him the health because he has so much protections on the ultimate. Aror going in, trying to go into Sam, but a defensive Volcanic Lightning should make him A-okay.
Scream going to look for the kill here on the left side. NeilMah takes a ton of damage into the transformation. That's good enough for the escape. I was actually surprised knowing that Divios is a solo lane Warlock staff aficionado like myself. I like the Warlock staff on the solo lane Guardians, etc. I was surprised not to see it on the Aphrodite, actually.
Ah. Yeah, that does. It's interesting, right? Because I think it's more important to get health on Hades because you have so much protections on your Pillar of Agony, whereas Aphrodite, you do get protections from the passive, but it's really not too much. Where it's like 4 per stack, stacking up to 9 times.
We've seen him do it on the different Guardians as well. I think when you look at the itemization on the Aphrodite, it was Mage's Blessing into cooldown, cooldown, cooldown. Not cooldown boots because, as you mentioned, needed the utility to get to lane. But it was Breastplate of Valor, Shield of Regrowth, max cooldown ASAP. So I think Divios was more looking for the CDR than the outright stats there. But for the Hades, the Warlock staff, and I've had this conversation with a couple of different people. Warlock staff is the ideal item for a lot of these tanky mages and these Guardians in the solo lane. Sometimes even the mid lane. What makes it unideal and unpurchasable for a lot of people is the fact that you've got to stack it. One, it's so expensive to begin with, and then you've got to stack it up past that. That's what keeps people off of it.
But currently, at the state of the game, it's going to be another 7, maybe 8 minutes tops until Divios finishes stacking that item. By then, he'll have finished off Pen Boots, and he'll be probably a tier 2 version of his Mantle of Discord that he loves to buy third on this build.
And you don't want to fight before then anyway. You're just looking to hang out here. You need 65 stacks to match the 100 power that you would get from other relevant items if you're looking for a power item.
Which is only about 3 minutes worth of stacking. It's not too bad as long as you can be able to sit in that lane for as long as possible. Aror and Scream trying to defend their own blue buff. Divios sitting in the lane as Belair and NeilMah looking for the steal.
Splyce are kind of comfortable there on the right side. Venenu anything but. Sam for Soccer takes down the Zeus. Divios will miss the blue buff as K Gaming snatch it away. 1-1 as Zeus tumbles. Sam with the first kill here for SK Gaming. They answer back there. They were trailing SK by about 1,000 gold, but with their kill, they cut it down to about 500, meaning about a tie game at the 8-minute mark.
Belair.
The ult and the dash, not good for Belair.
Not able to combat dodge out of it. Still has his fatal strike. Might need to use it now, but it's just too late. Taking all that damage from Divios, allow Scream to play cleanup. An important Arachne ultimate before even showing herself, because didn't want to scare away Belair yet. Wanted to make him feel still a little bit comfortable. And knowing that Scream doesn't have Blink, that was a pretty smart play.
20 power from Boots and maybe 15 for the tier 2 Jotuns. How much power on the
tier
Mace
2? It's like 25, I think.
There it is, 25 power. So 45 power, and Scream was able to just delete the Achilles from about 40% HP. That's the scary part. I mean, the Arachne just has the passive is a part of it, the little chin side, but it's really just the vampiric bite. That's really what does it. That first ability all the way over there. The initial damage is absurd. The damage per tick, you just do so much, and the heal, the swing is insane, and that's really what allows her to be so devastating in the early game. Is the fact that the base numbers are kind of scary on that first ability.
So staying on the other side for Sanford Soccer's Pele in a 1v2. Zapman, tell me if you saw this before in game number 2, getting dove under his tier 2 tower, forced to go into the mounted archery, but important that he holds on to those beats.
And Scream full HP after a tower dive at 9 minutes. That's what I'm talking about.
Only took about 2 tower shots though, so it's not that scary. Zapman's still gonna get dove. Ultimate by Scream. He wants it though.
And he's gonna go underneath thanks to CycloneSpin, tanking it up. Scream in trouble. Sam for Soccer gets the last shot. A 1-for-1 trade out. Now Aror getting harassed as Cyclone finds a shot or two. The rest of SK are here. CycloneSpin in trouble. Aror off the mark. The Hunter goes down. And support should be next. A beautiful taunt there from Paul. It's a matter of who gets the last shot. The double kill for the mid lane, Raijin.
Paul does the first 3 shots, which connect all, by the way, as full damage. And then the 4th hit, which he knows he's going to hit, was the inevitable taunt. Belair gaining 2 tower shots. 3rd tower shot, trying to get off the damage. Knows Divios still has the dash, so he's going to hold on to the fatal strike. But going back to Paul, mechanically, just all over the place in that game.
Oh, Divios is here, finds the dash. Both of them trade out. Belair loved it. He was laughing. Divios, not so much.
No, definitely not. It's nice to kill Hades 1-for-1 just to delay the inevitable stacking, to make him less impactful once these teamfights do a breakout.
Love the Hades build. Warlock Staff and the power boost, and then the Mantle of Discord, like you said, likely to follow.
Well, now it's switching it up. Normally it would have been the Mantle of Discord from what I've seen in his first week appearance, but he's actually going to go into the Breastplate of Valor, I'm assuming. Unless that's going to be a Height of Nemean line, but I'm assuming he wants cooldowns instead.
Yeah, Breastplate of Valor will work against Belair, Sam, and Zapman. The physical prots coming through there. Tie game. 11 minutes in.
A lot different compared to the first 2 games because SK Gaming built about a 1,500 gold lead in both games. And then at this point in game number 2, a little bit quicker pacing, SK had about a 4,000 gold lead with a lot of blue buff invades with a couple of Totem of Coup advantage. This time around, Scream leaning on Divios' lane, not going to allow SK to control that right side of the map.
And again, Splyce kind of going back to the drawing board here. This is... I remember talking to that E-United team that won the World Championship and talking to PBM and them and doing, you know, Scream's got like a weird god pool. He plays Bastet, he plays Arachne. You know, what kind of thought process goes... And PBM was like, you know, every now and then we just let Scream do what Scream wants to do, and sometimes it wins.
He plays like 3 gods at Worlds. It was the Bastet, the Fafnir, and the Robin. That's all he played at Worlds.
Right, and the Bastet's kind of jank. The Arachne... I'm not fully committed to calling it jank, but it's unpopular, if you will. And this is Splyce just saying, all right, Scream, just pick something and do it. Right now, he's 2-1-1. The ultimate, not going to be quick enough. Pele, just not the fastest god in the game. That's Mercury, but close to it.
At 381. I love that change, by the way.
That is a good change. The fastest guy in the game used to be Vamana, just like based on stats, and then.
Well, it was Circuit at 380, and then they swapped it, and then they made a Vamana at 380. They're like, yeah, let's give the smallest guy the most movement speed. It was kind of funny to see Vamana have his time in the sun.
But just for flavor, 1 extra movement speed, and realistically, 1 movement speed is nothing. There's no impact to the game, but Mercury's the fastest god.
That's right. You got to keep to the lore, you know?
Lore accurate. Shout out to the Vorthoses out there. Hell yeah. Keeping it live.
Venenu, I like his build on the Zeus. A lot of Zeus mages recently have been picking up this Rod of Tahuti just for extra detonate damage. You don't necessarily have to be the one starting off the fight. As long as you're there to end it with the detonate, that Rod of Tahuti going to come up big.
And Rod's generally been a Zeus item, but seeing it first and foremost has been kind of a shift. I've seen a number of players kind of do this for a while now. And the idea is that, I mean, most of the time you're buying an item for just a couple of 100 gold less that gives you 100 power, $150 power. Forget the passive, which is hard to forget. But forget the passive real quick. Just 150 power. If you're not fighting in the first 5 minutes, fine. And so that's where I think we see that turnaround come from. And now Venenu with it built up is going to be a little scary. Certainly can dominate people with the Rainstorm.
Aror not having the range for the pull onto NeilMah. Neither team interested in the Goal Fury yet. They're just trying to establish vision control. Neil off the mark with a stun. Scream going to sustain it quite a bit from the bite. Root onto Neil. Ultimate out of Paul.
Meanwhile, NeilMah half HP. Scream playing it safe, waiting for his cooldowns to come back up. 1 goes down, 2 go down. SK Gaming on the good side. Scream looking for the kill. Can't find it because of a heal. Nice job. NeilMah will find his exit stage left.
You need to know the pros and cons of the god you're playing. Zeus on Venenu put himself in a really awkward position trying to assist in Scream, but NeilMah was just buying time for the rest of his team to clean up, and the range from Paul was able to switch his target. Scream was the first target, but then he saw the Zeus instead.
Splyce had the early game. SK Gaming looking for the objectives now. Scream getting crit, and there's an ultimate onto Belair. Dash is not good enough. Divios still clean. CycloneSpin looking for damage. No big deal. SK Gaming taking the lead here. 3,000 gold up.
15 minutes in. Not a bad start from SK Gaming. They've never really dropped a lead this entire set yet. They had a moment where it was looking a little scary, where they took a fight in game number 2 after the Oni Fury, then got punished for it, but then Paul just decided to show up with the Hopwa. And so far, Paul has had a very strong Raijin performance, already at 3-1-2 out of the 7 SK kills.
Hopwa is the Paul god. That's the one that we're all going to write home about. That's the the Jordan poster. That's what we're used to seeing. But Paul's Raijin also has been a standout character for him in his career, and not a surprise to see him performing real well on it. Roar with a quick blink there gets him out of trouble.
Needed a very necessary blink. Scream needing his ultimate.
A very necessary ult.
These two gods very immobile without those two between the relic or the ultimate, so it makes sense. We saw the early kills between Venenu and Aror dropping like flies from Splyce, so yet again, Splyce on the defensive. Like SK Gaming are the ones forcing every single issue.
Another objective goes the way. I guess they're the pink and gray. I so just call them the navy blue.
Oh yeah, that's right.
SK Gaming historically.
White and blue.
Yep. SK historically is, I mean, one of the more historical esports orgs in the world, frankly. Dignitas is early 90s. You've got SK Gaming, who are early 90s as well. That's going all the way back to the Counter-Strike days. Shout out to the early 2000s. That's my world there. Early 90s is a little old for me. But SK, certainly one of the originators of the esports world. I like the adaptation of the pink and black. I think it's a nice look.
It is really nice. Their shoes are just phenomenal. I want them.
They all have the matching Adidas. Gotta love it.
I need them in my life.
Gotta love it for sure. The gameplay, and you know that's one thing. If you guys have the best uniforms and the worst record, that's gotta feel bad. But SK's gameplay has absolutely matched. Certainly not like last year's SK.
Oh, definitely not.
Shout out to Funball, by the way, who has more wins on Renegades than he had all year on SK.
Didn't they win one set?
They won a single set,
yeah,
which was 2 games.
So they're tied.
No, it was 2 games. They won 3 games to win their set here.
Oh, okay. So they won more games.
They won
okay.
more games.
I thought you meant like set-wise. They're tied in the sets.
They're tied in sets, and they have more wins.
It's still early in the season. You never know how Renegades is going to turn out. No, but Renegades look really clean, I think, against Trifecta.
Yeah, if you're just joining us, you missed the Renegades set. P.S. A girdle was popped on the Fire Giant. NeilMah and Zapman going for it. It's a little preemptive if you ask me. Splyce walking in here. Aror by himself as Belair gets out of trouble. Nice ultimate from Aror. The SK Gaming boys already used 2 of their ultimates.
It's a bait. CycloneSpin, split push in the left side. That's all they wanted. They stopped the Fire Giant. They got plenty of gold from the Jing split push. Finally, Belair to deal with it. Heal back. He just got his teleport relic available again.
Splyce on the offensive. NeilMah slowed, stunned out as well. There's damage as Venenu shows up. Zapman looking for the backline flank. Sam for Soccer gets one, but Divios trades out. Triple kill! Sam for Soccer makes them bleed! Divios up next as the quadra kill goes to Sam the Man. SK Gaming trust their jungle. And the Fire Giant is next.
That was a good fight for Splyce to begin with. The fight under the Zeus ultimate. The problem was Aror didn't have his ultimate earlier because he used it defensively when he was getting engaged on. And without that kind of crowd control, you can't synergize as effectively with the Lightning Storm because then you're only getting 1 tick of the Lightning Storm if there's no setup. You drop a Sylvanus ult as you're Lightning Storming, you'll get 2, maybe 3 ticks, so then Venenu's damage will come up a little bit big. That's why SK Gaming almost doubling that of Splyce.
Zapman wrapped around that rock as well with the ultimate, hitting the entire team. And I think Zapman ult and Sam Naka just, he just obliterated everyone. And again, I want to stress, Splyce kind of had a good fight. Let's take a second look at how this one went. And here's, there it is. Zapman brings everybody low, and Sam just hits the world.
Wow. Volcanic Lightning is a pretty good ability when everyone is lined up to receive those spread out cone basic attacks.
Also, can I just tell you, watching Sam get a quadra kill and then turn around to go for the objective, oh.
It was a Jing ultimate. You're not going to catch her.
I'm chasing. A CycloneSpin is chasing that person to the fountain.
Not if he's playing Pele against a Jing.
Zapman is winding up on the Clash map chasing that individual. Sam for Soccer showing that discipline. The Roar with a great pull. And SK Gaming say, sure, we'll take the invite. Frenzy's popped, but not a lot of damage done. Left side is all Sam.
Dipping their toe in the water before they really figuring out if it's warm enough for the submerge. I like it. A little bait tactic of their own. Same thing that CycloneSpin did at the tier 2 tower on the left. Sam for Soccer does in response.
Still a little cold.
Still too cold.
Still too cold?
Too chilly.
They got to warm it up.
That's right.
Pyromancer has the fire to warm it up.
Very warm around the Pyromancer.
Get it? Fire.
Geographically, if like Smite had like elements,
sure.
And
Smite does have elements.
Well, like, I mean,
like the table of elements?
Not like that. Well, yes, like fire, ice, and all that stuff like actually matter in this game.
Like,
where like
aluminium.
Yeah, sure. Like fire being, you know, significantly stronger against ice. Like Ymir would never be played. Really?
Why not?
You never want to get near the Fire Giant. It'd be too hot around there. It'll melt instantly. Especially if you're playing the Ice Cream Ymir.
Oh my god, totally.
You would have to like sit around Gold Fury.
In that case, I mean, Aurora wouldn't want to bring Sylvanus either.
That's true.
He'd just have to leave.
The long pause.
Hey, man. Sylvanus, this game, his bark has been worse than his bite for sure. On the short end of things, Splyce trailing by 14,000. SK grouping up as 4, looking for the push on the right-hand side. Zapman focusing on the tower, the rest of the team focusing on the team fight. Aror with a great knock-up into a pull. Belair gets shot down, but he's still alive as the rainstorm just focuses on the tanks. Still damage onto the Phoenix. It goes down. SK Gaming pulled into a fight. Belair hanging on for dear life. Sam around the backline after he takes the mid lane tower. 2 kills again. Zapman divine as he gets 9 kills in a row. Totally. SK Gaming in 3 quick games make work of Splyce.
SK Gaming showed up to play today, winning game number 3 in less than 24 minutes.
Wow.
Very impressive stuff. Not even worried. Just looking at the laughs out of SK Gaming. Splyce with a new roster still have to go through some growing pains.
This team is something special, Totally. This team is absolutely something special. Splyce have a little bit to reflect on. They've got a new roster, so this is not, I'm not, what's the phrase Hindu uses? It's not all doom and gloom for the Snakes. I think that Splyce have some stuff to work on. SK Gaming, on the other hand, I mean, this is a team coming through with all the momentum in the world. This is my team to watch in the Pro League. I don't mean they're the #1 squad, but they have been some of the most exciting team, some of the exciting players to watch.
They have been very innovative with their picks, with their opening strategies, with how they've been able to be patient as well. Also in terms of game number 1, the way they were able to like ping pong Splyce between the right side of the map and the middle of the map is so next level that we haven't seen a team play that well, honestly, since like Season 2, Season 3 Energy days.
It's very, very frightening for all who line up against SK Gaming. Splyce try to do what they can, but unfortunately they fall a little bit short. SK on the other side looking clean as all hell. Just got to give it up to the boys. And right now, I'll give it up to Aggro.
Thank you, Tom and Tolly. Wow. I mean, SK Gaming look great in that game, Taco. Splyce change it up. They've got a draft that we feel much better about. It team fights super well, and they never get to actually team fight. It feels like they just get stomped in the few 4-on-4, 5-on-5 engagements they had.
I think Sam's patience on this Pele was the primary downfall for Splyce here, because he just found Venenu every single time. It felt like the Zeus was constantly being picked in the back line, and I don't know if it was a communications problem for Splyce or if Ven might have just been a little bit too far away from his team, but Sam just had an absolute field day against that Zeus.
Man, Sam just played lights out today. A quadra kill for him there. I mean, he got off to an early lead and just never relinquished it whatsoever. I mean, what is Ven supposed to do from this position when Sam is all over him? Screams Arachne, gets the first blood, and you're like, okay, Splyce starting to get the ball rolling. And that was kind of it for them. 9-0 for Sam for soccer in the jungle. 15, nearly 16,000 gold. He was up individually 4,500 gold over Scream.
And his own team, pretty much. I mean, if you look at Neil, at least, we could kind of,
but Neil had more gold than anybody on the any team except for Cyclone, who he was down by less than 100. I mean, it was just total gold income coming for SK Gaming. And honestly, Venenu has another performance to forget. He ends the game with a lot higher player damage than he had. 18 minutes in or so, the fight where Sam gets the quadra kill, he was below Aror and NeilMah before that fight had started. A rough Splyce debut, I'd say, for Ven.
I definitely think that it might be back to the drawing board for this Splyce roster, but it did feel like, for the most part, it's Splyce. These seem like easier adjustments to make with the introduction of Venenu and Scream. It didn't really feel like there was any sort of, obvious error or anything like that with Splyce. I think that they went a little experimental today with the Aphrodite and solo lane. Obviously something that's probably worked for them in Scrim, so decided to bring out here today. But I think that Venenu might have just needed a little bit more attention from the rest of his team.
Look, Splyce, I think there's 2 reasons why Splyce fans shouldn't be too concerned. Number 1, there's a brand new roster that just came together within the last week. It's going to take some time to mesh. Number 2, this is a team that historically does best when the meta is set and then they break it. It takes time for the meta to set. Look at how bad this team was last spring. They were winless, just like this. This is what they do. They are slow starting again. So I'm not ready to write this Splyce squad off. They do need to start working if they want to make MSI, though. They want to make top 6. But make no mistake about it, I think these guys are looking forward to the World Championships. It'll just take some time for them to ramp up there and kind of be ready. And I think they do have that potential. It's just going to take a little bit of time for Splyce to put it all together. No more time necessary for SK. They looked great today, really building that momentum off of their 5-game loss up against Dignitas last week. We've got Sam and Zap standing by.
Thank you, Agro. I'm here with Zapman and Stanford Soccer, winners of SK Gaming today. First off, I got to ask you, the meta has been always changing, but none more than whenever you guys play. Talk to me about this Hercules meta from the set.
Well, it's actually something that Aror has coined. We used to scrim him in the first half of the split, and he used to play Hercules, and we were like, why is he picking Hercules first? And he would just own us with it. So we knew it was a strong pick, and Neil picked it up, and he's just played it to perfection.
Off of that question, Tully and I were on the call, and Neil, I mean, you guys have all played as a team. You guys have all looked good, but NeilMah in games 1 and 2 was out of control. How much of an asset is it to have an all-star support like that?
I mean, yeah, it's an asset to have an all-star in any role, right? I feel like we're all kind of all-stars in our own right, so especially when everybody's just playing good, it just feels like we can't, like, lose any team, right? Just got to get to the point where we're all, like, have the right mindset and we're all playing at our top level.
That's my support.
So looking at Splyce's new roster, how would you compare it to their old roster from all the scrims time that you've had with them?
Well, I think Scream and Cyno are a bit similar, and they want to, pressure side lanes, and they're really good at farming and all that kind of stuff. As far as Venenu to Maswal was definitely, like, he played for the team. He picked gods for the team. He presses forward for the team. And I'm not really exactly sure how Ven plays or wants to play for the team. He picked a couple of Nox picks. I wasn't too sure how that kind of fit in with the team comps. And then the Zeus picks, so that was kind of like a Maswal pick type thing. So I guess it's still trying to work things out.
So fantastic job to you personally, Sam. You got that quadra kill in the last game. I kind of wanted you to chase down that 5th kill. Tully said you were a little bit more disciplined. Talk me through the team mentality during that play.
Well, I guess the kill as a whole, or the 4 kills as a whole, it was just kind of them all grouping up for me and Zap's ults. Kind of just all took a bunch of area damage. Then after you get the quadra, he's Jing away first, so he's pretty elusive, but he as soon as he ulted out, I just knew it wasn't worth chasing.
Let me tell you what really happened. After the 3rd kill, Sam's like, give me the peta, give me the peta. And they were like, no, discipline. And Sam's like, okay, I'm turning it around. After the 3rd kill, by the way. That's what really happened.
Okay, I was kind of joking, but...
So, rewinding back into game number 1, Zap, you were against the Achilles at a CycloneSpin. Oh, how does that change your mentality compared to most other hunters?
Well, Warriors with Glad Shield, they literally beat anybody, right? Especially Achilles, because he has his 2 heal plus his Glad Shield to heal, and he went blink. So that just means he's just trying to poke me out sustain me, because a lot of hunters go boots first. So my adjustment was I just last hit the minions, and then anytime I thought he had blink up, I'd call Sam over as like a bait. The first gank kind of went off, but after that, we cleaned him up, I think, 2 or 3 more times. I got a 2-level leave. But yeah, I just pretty much needed Sam to come at certain points of the game when I felt he felt strong.
Well, the team as a whole certainly looks strong. Congratulations on your win. 3-0 to SK. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks.
You. Thank you very much for Sam and Zam and Sam. That's what I was going with, and I'm going with Zap and Sam for their time after their win. A huge one for them to defeat the defending world champions 3-0. And I love it's just this SK team is fun. I mean, they're fun to watch. They play the game in a fun way. They're aggressive. There's going to be a lot of kills when SK's on the board. And then they're just fun to listen to. They clearly are well. They've meshed really, really well as a unit.
Well adapted to each other for sure.
Yeah.
And not even just in terms of play style or understanding each other in SMITE. I think that these guys are developing some very real life friendships that are going to probably stick around for a bit.
Definitely. That's all the spike ball they're playing in the backyard that's doing that for them. Let's take a look at the standings so they can see exactly where SK has fallen. After this one, they are up to 3-3 now, sitting at 5th place in the standings, but their plus-minus so much better than that of Space Station Gaming that SK should feel pretty confident in where they are about the mid-season invitational, though Renegades hot on their heels. Splyce now falls to 0-3 on the young season. It's been a rough start for them. There's no doubt about that. They've got a lot of games to play, though, so they've got some time to make it rolling.
With the way that Renegades is looking, though, this could become an incredibly tight race for the top 6.
It's going to be close. There's no doubt about it. Space Station Gaming should be very nervous about that 6th seed right now. I mean, sitting at 2-4, really all Renegades have to do is play 500 or better Smite, and they would likely get in, depending on how Space Station, of course, closes out their first half of the season. And it's all looking forward, not to Mid-Season Invitational even. I mean, that's the more current thing, but ultimately the World Championship is what we're all worried about here. So make sure you get your tickets. You can get them right now. HighResExpo.com, November 15th, I believe it starts. It's going to be good. And John Finch, have you heard about this, Taco? John Finch, for every single person that he sees at Hi-Res Expo, is going to create a unique handshake with them.
Well, last year he was all about the crisp, firm handshake.
Yeah,
so that
he's
might
taking it to the next level this time.
I completely understand, trying to just handshakes 2.0.
Exactly. You can't be sticking with the same strategy every year. So, maybe a little like elbow bump in there, you like do some sort of dance in between. A unique handshake for everyone that comes to HRX. I'm up for a 360 spin. That would be cool too. Yeah, you got some ideas. Hopefully he's working on them because he's going to need them for every person at Hi-Res Expo. That's insane. We also, speaking of insane, have some insanely sweet skins that you should go and get right now in Smite. This Chibi Bonanza Blinky Chibi Giannis is literal perfection.
Oh, no.
Play it.
I thoroughly enjoy the chibi skins. It's nice getting to play a god the same size as myself, personally. I'm a big fan of that one.
That's your angle all the time? Like, when I'm playing the chibi skins, I'm like, God, everyone's so
Just
tall.
imagine real life, but like that
man.
instead. It's like, is there something else left on that top shelf? Well, I'll never know. Find out next year when they restock it.
That's right. Whenever they tear it down and I have to figure out some other way. Sorry to hear that, Taco. But at least, it's everyone likes the chibi skin, so everyone likes that, Like,
people do like small things.
Okay, I don't know how to react to that. So instead, we're going to close the show so I don't have to. Tomorrow, 11 a.m., SPL resumes. Make sure you're here at mixer.com/SmiteGame. We'll see you then. Thanks for watching.
The Smite Pro League brought to you by Titan Forge, Hi-Res Studios, INAP, Respawn, Steel Series, Alienware, and Skillshot.
Doesn't matter if the sun goes up, 'cause we will still be high when the lights out.